Today's episode of the Our Hen House podcast is being sponsored by our partner, A Well-Fed World. A Well-Fed World is a hunger relief and animal protection organization chipping away at two of the world's most immense, unnecessary, and unconscionable forms of suffering. The suffering of people hungry from lack of food, and the suffering of animals used and abused for food. Mending our unjust food system is a critical part of solving the world's most destructive and persistent problems. Fortunately, the plant-based foods that promote health and well-being are the same foods that conserve resources to better feed the world, while reducing greenhouse gas emissions and protecting the environment. A well-fed world provides the means for change by empowering individuals, social justice organizations, and political decision-makers to embrace the benefits of plant-based foods and farming. Learn more at awfw.org.
Our hen house is a squawking house. Our hen house is their hen house. Our hen house, ooh, it's a funky fresh house. Our hen house is your hen house.
Welcome to Our Hen House. We have a great episode this week. I think you're going to really love it. My guest is writer Jessica Pierce. I'll be talking to her about her latest book, which is called The Animal's Agenda, and she co-wrote that with Mark Bekoff, who you're probably familiar with Mark's work, but also about Jessica's whole body of work. She has really done some, I don't know whether you've heard of her before. She's just a really interesting thinker, and she's been devoting a lot of that thought to our relationship with animals. And particularly up until, well, this isn't the first book that she's done that doesn't have to do with companion animals, but she has focused on companion animals in a couple of her books. And I think you're really going to be interested in what she has to say. And then Jasmine will be talking to one of our very favorite people in the world, J.L. Fields, who is absolutely a model of what every vegan activist should. If we were all JL, the world would be vegan by now. She's just the best, and she always makes me feel good. She's always in a good mood. She's just great, and she's going to be talking about something. If you haven't heard about it, you're going to want to know about it. It's air fryers. Ring a bell. Either you're passionate about them or you haven't heard about them yet. I think those are the only two choices. She has a new book out on how to use them to make veganism even better than it already is, if you can believe that's possible. And so I think you're just really going to enjoy hearing both of these people. So I have been feeling like every week I get on and I talk about a movie. Well, maybe not every week, but a lot of movies. But what can I say? I really feel that the questions and anxieties about eating animals just seems to be slipping slowly, subtly into the zeitgeist. And so it just keeps coming up in popular culture, including in movies. And I mean, all right, this is a movie that you will not have seen. I can pretty much guarantee that. As you may or may not know, I used to hide this fact, but I have on occasion been known to watch children's television and movies. I'm not sure why. I do understand why I enjoy it. I don't understand why anybody else doesn't enjoy this stuff, but it does say something about me, I'm sure. For one thing, I do love animation. I think I always have. I think that's a completely legitimate and grown-up thing. But for another thing, I can be a bit emotionally fragile. So I do like happy endings. I like positive messages, and children's television and movies frequently have very positive messages. I don't know. These are my excuses. I am not sure what it is. And maybe you all love kids shows, and it's only obvious about me because I have kids, so I don't have an excuse to watch them. I don't know. But anyway, so I was fiddling around on Netflix, and I started to watch the movie Trolls, which I think is a pretty successful kids movie. But I know right away that this movie was too young even for me. It's geared toward ages 5 to 7. It says so though you could be a lot older than that and still enjoy it. But I watched enough of it to be completely hooked by the storyline. Well, for one thing, I was also hooked by the fact that it uses pop music very well. That is one thing. But the storyline, it is completely and totally crazy. It's all about these two sets of creatures, the trolls, who, look like troll dolls, which were popular when I was a kid and have been, I think, popular from time to time ever since then. I guess they're probably popular again because of this movie. Anyway, they're little and cute and colorful and have the big hair, and they dance and they sing all the time, and they're happy. They're just really happy. And then the other creatures are the Bergens. And I don't know where they got that name. It makes me think that, maybe somebody had a grudge against somebody who was named Bergen and managed to insert that name into this movie, because the Bergens are very big. They're very gray rather than colorful. They're sad. They're angry. They're miserable. They are just not, they're not happy folks. But they want to be happy. And the only way that the Bergens can be happy, the only route that they know to happiness, is to eat the trolls. Seriously, eat them. That's the basic plot line. The basic plot of this movie is all about the efforts of the Bergens to eat the trolls and the efforts of the trolls to avoid being eaten. I just thought that was completely unbelievable. There's really a lot going on here. I mean, there's this fundamental idea underlying the Bergens' desire to eat the trolls, that we gain the strengths of the creature that we eat. And the trolls here are happy. So when a Bergen eats a troll, he or she consumes and wears the aspect of the troll that he envies, i.e. happiness. I just think that's a very fundamental idea about eating animals. The idea that if we eat them, we will be strong, we will be healthy. I mean, eating animal flesh is not actually a very healthy food for us. I mean, when we were desperate for food, it provides a lot of calories. And so if you're starving, there's that. But as we all know, it causes a lot of diseases, and all in all is not as healthy as eating a lot of other foods. But there's this idea that we will become, and this is one of the reasons I think that it's been so attached to athleticism and to masculinity, that if we eat this animal, we will absorb the strength. And in this movie is just reflecting that concept, that when you eat someone, you absorb their strength. And then there's just the bizarre part of this movie that the Bergens, and obviously the Bergens are not completely unrelated to humans, are comfortable eating fully conscious, fully developed creatures. There's just no hiding behind the subterfuges of meat, of turning animal bodies into food. They eat living trolls. They have no problem. And the trolls have good personalities and are very nice to have lunch with, and they eat them. They eat them. It's just crazy. So this is pretty gruesome stuff. It's just right out there. The eating of other, I mean, it doesn't actually happen on screen. But it is what happens, and it's open to these children, ages 5 to 7. I don't know, does a lot of children's literature get this frank about violence these days? I know that back in the day, Grimm's fairy tales were, shall we say, pretty grim, as the saying goes. I used to have a book of Grimm's fairy tales, a really old book. It was in our cellar, and I used to eat it. So I was read it, why not eat it? So I'm pretty familiar with how gruesome they were, and we all know that. There was the witch in Hansel and Gretel, and she would eat children, but I kind of thought that had fallen out of favor in children's literature and movies and whatever. It's kind of existentially terrifying. And it's right in this movie. As I said, it doesn't happen on screen, but it has happened in the past. Trolls have been eaten. That is acknowledged. And I just can't help but feel that this whole movie is just one more sign that our culture is just struggling with all of this stuff. That the knowledge that we live upon the deaths of others, that our satisfactions, that our pleasures are stolen, that at every meal we are eating someone else's flesh in order to find happiness. All of these realities are getting closer to the surface, and they are bubbling up, of all places, in this children's movie. I don't know. Maybe I'm making too much of this, but I don't know. It's pretty crazy. So I'm not going to give away the end of the movie, though probably not too many of you are going to be seeing Trolls. And even if you are, you probably are going to guess that it doesn't have an unhappy ending. That would be really bad, wouldn't it? But it does end with the realization that happiness is possible, even for Bergens, without stealing someone else's life. And just a hint, dancing seems to be one of the keys to happiness instead of eating animals. And I actually think that this movie kind of presents the answer we have all been searching for. More dancing, much more dancing, and less eating animals. That's the answer. The movie's got it. Like I told you, children's movies, they've got all the answers to life's problems. Anyway, like I said, you're probably not going to be seeing it, but you got to admit it's pretty interesting. Or maybe I'm crazy, but it seemed pretty interesting to me. Also very interesting, of course, is Our Hen House, and we have a really interesting show for you today. And my guest is, as I mentioned, Jessica Pierce. I just hope you're going to love this interview as much as I loved talking to her. Jessica's a bioethicist. She teaches at the Center for Bioethics and Humanities at the University of Colorado's Anschutz Medical School. And she's written a bunch of books, and a lot of them have related to animals. Some of them include Run, Spot, Run, The Ethics of Keeping Pets, The Last Walk, Caring for Our Pets at the End of Their Lives, and Wild Justice, The Moral Lives of Animals, which she wrote with Mark Bekoff. And we'll be focusing on her and Mark's latest book, The Animals Agenda, Freedom, Compassion, and Coexistence in the Human Age. And pay attention to that word freedom, because they have come up with a really new way of framing the question of how we relate to animals that I think is very compelling. And really, I love it when somebody comes on the show and they're thinking something new. And she'll be joining me right after this.
This episode is brought to you through the generosity of Dr. Bronner's. Dr. Bronner's is a family business committed to making socially and environmentally responsible products of the highest quality and dedicating profits to help make a better world. Dr. Bronner's donates over $500,000 every year to support animal rights organizations and causes. More information about Dr. Bronner's and their vegan fair trade products can be found at drbronner.com. And by the way, I love Dr. Bronner, and it's all I use, and I love what they stand for. Thanks, Dr. Bronner's.
Welcome to Our Hen House, Jessica.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am really excited to have you and really excited about the work that you're doing. It's really so important and so in-depth, and really science is just such an important issue for animals. And I'm not sure it's always been used in there to help them. In fact, I'm positive it hasn't always been used to help them. And your book, The Animals Agenda, which of course you co-wrote with Mark Bekoff, is really highlights that. We have seen, as we all know, we see the stories all the time. We've seen this huge growth in knowledge about animal cognition, and we know more and more about what's going on with animals. It feels like we see these stories every day. But I don't think any of us feel that this is really translated into any kind of change for animals. Can you talk about what science is doing and whether things have gotten better for animals as a result of it?
Sure. In fact, that was really the motivation behind this book, was a growing sense of frustration that science wasn't doing more for animals. I think if you had asked me a decade ago, when I first really started getting into this area of work, I was really excited about the prospects of what we're learning about animals, and that translating into real significant changes in how we treat them. And over the years, I really haven't seen much evolution of the sort that I was hoping for. And it seems in many ways as though things are getting worse for animals, particularly if you think, given what we know now, it seems so much worse. The way we treat them, putting it in the context of what we know about them. And, I don't think that I would say there's been no benefits to animals from science. And certainly there have been really important movements. For example, just in the last couple of years, last year, SeaWorld announced that it would end captive breeding of orcas. Just last week, France announced that it had banned captive breeding of dolphins and orcas. In 2016, California passed a bill outlawing the use of bullhooks on elephants.